Hi, my name is Elizabeth Enzor, and this is my interview reflection assignment. Mr. David Burris, a behavioral therapist here in Northwest Georgia, is responsible for facilitating therapy groups for the Department of Community Supervision. These groups utilize moral recognition therapy out of a workbook from which participants must complete exercises and step presentations. Mr. Burris received his Bachelor's of Science in Psychology and carries a Level 2 certification in addiction counseling. He is also a certified clinical supervisor. In addition to this, he has been on the board of directors for the Georgia Addiction Counselors Association since 2006 and teaches 42 CFR, or Code of Federal Regulations, Part 2, which covers the confidentiality of patient records regarding substance use disorders. Every counselor that works with addicts is responsible to be fully aware of this code. This 6-hour course is given twice a year in the spring and fall conferences, or may be taken virtually. In the past, he facilitated the 180 Level 1 credit course, and over the years began to teach the Level 2 270-hour credit course. When asked what he thought was the most fulfilling about the work he does in this industry, Mr. Burris replied, "Being able to see participants come in and be totally moved to recovery and begin to see them speak, feel differently, experience different behaviors, and be able to see them live healthy lives without drugs and alcohol." Because he is a member of the church I go to, and his background as a minister, I asked him if he was able to share about Christ and participants' recovery. He mentioned that he gets to respond if the participants bring it up, and may be able to do so in various forms. He remarked that it is really a miracle if they are able to make it, because the odds are slim to none, and being able to involve God in their recovery at their prompting makes the odds better. Just like the Christian faith, they have to remain surrendered. Relapse is a process, he said, not a sudden. It's common that they blame someone else for their addiction. He also really enjoys doing relapse prevention therapy, where they identify the early relapse warning signs and help them develop an action plan to deal with those signs head on. Recovery, he remarked, is like a hike that's a loop through the Grand Canyon. When you almost get to your car, he says, it's like coming to a ravine that's 100 feet deep and 3 feet across, and you're out of food and water. Recovery means jumping across that ravine, whereas relapse looks like, I'm not going to jump, or I'm only going to jump the 3 feet. In recovery, he said, you have to do more than just enough, rather than the bare minimum. With that said, Mr. Burris said that his greatest challenge is dealing with resistance. He handles this by trying to help them see there is a better life, and by asking the participants to the program he facilitates what they want to get out of it. Most, he says, simply don't want to go back to jail or prison. Sometimes they are at the point of resistance where they are putting others at risk. When this happens, he has to take them to see their probation officer, and they get to leave with some new jewelry. This is the price they pay for wanting to stay in a position of resistance where they put others at risk. Staying up to date with new laws and new trainings in the field, even as a member of the board of directors, means going to classes and reading online to continue his professional growth in this line of work. Reading information on professional websites such as www.samsa.gov and attending conferences as both a learner and a speaker keeps him on his toes. When asked what recommendations he has for students wishing to pursue work in this field, he said, "Do something else if you can. If God's call is so that you cannot run from it, then you have to get to the point where you get to love them without rescuing them." He further remarked that counselors should not ever take responsibility for the ones who make it, because then you have to take responsibility for the ones who don't. There has to be an understanding that if they make it, it's because it's God who does that. Mr. Burris, who's in his 70s, when asked if he planned to quit any time soon, said, "I'll continue to do it as long as I'm alive. There's no retirement in God's will." I asked Mr. Burris how he got involved in recovery counseling. He said that in 1993, he and his wife took a group through Experiencing God, which was a 12-week study learning how to listen to God and so begin to experience Him. In this group, there was a young man in his early 20s who was a new Christian, who, in an assignment to listen and share the experience, came back afterwards and said, "David, I sensed the Holy Spirit say you were going to lead a ministry for substance abuse and alcoholics." As soon as he said that, Mr. David remembered on page 197 in the margin on the left-hand side down toward the bottom was a quote that said, "Only 7% of people who attempt to recover are able to get to sobriety." He said, "Not really interested in this line of work. If God's going to bring us into a ministry for this, God will bring it to us," thinking he shut that down. However, 2 weeks later, after he and his wife got home, kind of late one night, he checked the answering machine and there was a message to call back asking for help. So he wrote the number down and started to walk away when his wife Glenda said, "Are you not going to call that guy? He sounded desperate." And because she prodded, he went ahead and made the call. The caller gave directions to Holland, where one of the largest marijuana farms in the nation was located. And when he arrived, unbeknownst to him, he was being closely watched by armed guards. The young man that called looked rough, while his wife with pretty red hair and his 1-year-old with blonde hair were nearby. He said, "I need help, and I can't recover here. I need somewhere to go." Mr. Burris thought to himself, "Oh, crap," as he gathered the man and his young family. "I'll have to find out where he can go first thing in the morning." He called Douglas LaCroix, who led a mission GBC facility for men. When he talked to one of the counselors, the counselor informed him that he would have to go through detox, to which Mr. Burris thought, "What's that?" He took the young man to a facility in Cedartown and picked him up 5 days later when he drove him to the Unionville Christian Home. In the next year, Mr. Burris took 75 men down there. 2 to 3 months later, he got a call from an officer at the Chautauqua County Jail, wanting to verify his name. The caller identified himself as Officer Miller and proceeded to tell him that they had a man sitting on the steps who wanted to see him as soon as possible. Because it was a Sunday morning, and he had to preach, Mr. Burris went after church, and when he got there and made it through, he heard the door unlock before he entered, and then it slammed shut behind him. He said, "I'm in jail, and I don't know how to get out." The young man inside said, "I have a drug problem, and I don't know what to do." By this time, Mr. Burris knew of a facility in Penfield where he was able to get some information about how to help this young man. He was directed to purchase a book called Conquering Chemical Dependency by Robert McGee and Dale McCluskey. Within 2 weeks, Mr. Burris had 10 guys working through a Christ-centered 12-step, and eventually the whole jail. Over the next 4 years, he continued and baptized 75 to 100 guys and brought books for every one of them. He finally got a call from Mr. McCluskey wanting to know what Mr. Burris was doing with all the books he was buying. Upon learning, Mr. McCluskey asked if he could come up to Nashville so he could meet him along with a group of others. After all this, Mr. Burris started writing articles for the Southern Baptist newsletters for the pastors about ministering to addicts and alcoholics. Mr. Burris closed by saying, "That's how it started in '93 and took off like blazing fire." As I completed this assignment, I learned that there really is no length to which God will not go to bring home those whom He loves and has a purpose. However, addiction counseling and counseling in general really and truly isn't something that I want to pursue. I am far more interested in helping others to build and develop their goals and boundaries based on their dreams and skills. I hope to pursue a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology, where I can assist businesses in making a meaningful difference in their communities. I fully believe that a company that aims to create a sustainable culture of growth and belief within its organization will at the same time create real purpose in its community and make the world a better place every day. Thanks.